Surely this will be the last opportunity for me to address you. The Air Force has bombed the antennas of Radio Portales and Radio Corporación. My words do not have the bitterness, but disappointment. My words do not have bitterness, but disappointment. May they be a moral punishment for those who have betrayed their oath, soldiers of Chile. Titular Commander-in-Chief Admiral Moreno, who has designated himself Commander of the Navy, and Mr. Mendoza, the despicable general who only yesterday pledged his fidelity and loyalty to the government, and who also has appointed himself Chief of the Carabineros. The Carabineros. These are the people that's coming after Salvador Allende during his last moments. Was he murdered? Was it suicide? This kind of sounds like a suicide note to me. But these are the enemies. The people who betrayed their oath, soldiers of Chile, Commanders-in-Chief Admiral Moreno, Mr. Mendoza. So Mr. Mendoza and Albert Moreno. And he was chief of the Carabineros. Paramilitary police. So he's in his palace. You got it's last scene of Scarface. But instead of going out like a fucking, like Al Pacino did, instead he supposedly is going to take an AK-47 and kill himself. That's what they said. They killed him with an AK-47. It seems like a weird choice for a suicide weapon, but I saw that one video where the guy was at the Arab party and he was shooting the AK and they accidentally killed the guy in front of him, and it was just boom, boom, boom. It took 3 shots, boom, 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 and it went real quick. So it actually might be a pretty effective way. There is some moral okay, so given these facts, the only thing left for me is to say to workers, I'm not going to resign. Placed in a historical transition, I will pay for the loyalty of the people with my life. And I say to them that I am certain that the seeds which we have planted in the good conscience of thousands and thousands of Chileans will not be shriveled forever. They have force and will be able to dominate us. But social processes can be arrested by neither crime nor force. History is ours, and people make history. Workers of my country, I want to thank you for the loyalty that you always had, the confidence that you deposited in a man who was only an interpreter of great yearnings for justice, who gave his word that he would respect the Constitution and the law, and did just that at this definitive moment, the last moment when I can address you. I wish you to take advantage of the lesson. Foreign capital, imperialism, together with the reaction, created the climate in which the armed forces broke their tradition. The tradition taught by General Schneider and reaffirmed by Commander Oreya. Victims of the same social sector who today are hoping with foreign assistance to reconquer the power to continue defending their profits and their privileges. I address you, above all, the modest woman of our land, the country woman who believed in us, the woman who knew our concern for children. I address professionals of Chile, patriotic professionals who continued working against this sedition that was supported by professional associations, classist associations that also defended the advantages of capitalist society. I addressed the youth, those who sang and gave us their joy and their spirit of struggle. I addressed the man of Chile, the worker, the farmer, the intellectual, those who will be persecuted because in our country fascism has been already present for many hours in terrorist attacks, blowing up the bridges, cutting the railroad tracks, destroying the oil and gas pipelines in the face of the silence of those who had the obligation to act. They were committed. History will judge them. Surely Radio Magallanes will be silenced, and the calm metal of my voice will no longer reach you. It does not matter. You will continue hearing it. I will always be next to you. At least my memory will be that of a man of dignity who was loyal to his country. The people must defend themselves, but they must not sacrifice themselves. The people must not let themselves be destroyed or riddled with bullets, but they cannot be humiliated either. Workers of my country, I have faith in Chile and its destiny. Other men will overcome this dark and bitter moment when treason seeks to prevail. Go forward, knowing that sooner rather than later, the great avenues will open again and free men will walk through them to construct a better society. Long live Chile, long live the people, long live the workers. These are my last words, and I am certain that my sacrifice will not be in vain. I am certain that at the very least it will be a moral lesson that will punish felony, cowardice, and treason. Santiago de Chile, September 11th, 1973. Salvador Allende he's a democratic socialist elected in 1973. He nationalized the copper and nitrate industries. He had land reform, wealth redistribution. He is Bernie Sanders. This is Bernie Sanders in Chile, 1973. He was elected socialist president. Did not come into power like Che and Castro and Lenin and all the rest of them by just taking power. They were voted in. Him and his administration were voted in. Salvador Allende is Bernie Sanders. And then 1973, because of the Cold War, Henry Kissinger was allowed to set up a program that assassinated Salvador Allende. And why? Because they wanted to make the economy scream. Socialism sounds too much like communism. He talked to Castro in the Soviet Union a couple times, so there was connection, so he had to go. Kissinger said other thing that, it's democracy, though. So, how can you kill the elected leader of the country? How can you coup d'etat the elected fucking leader of the country? That's so brazen. Kissinger said sometimes you have to correct the will of the people. And so that was the death of democracy. That was the death of socialism. It was the death of democracy. Allende wasn't just the death of democratic socialism for Chile. It was, for the entire fucking hemisphere. For America, for all the 50 states. If the U.S. government was willing to assassinate foreign leaders just for their socialist ideals, just because he wanted land reform, just because he wanted to nationalize the copper and the nitrate industries, he ran for like 4 or 5 times, lost every time, wound up getting in there. He was in there for 3 years, and while Kissinger and the CIA could plead some deniability, there is some, seemingly reasonable deniability. They knew about it. They pushed it for it, and they knew about it, and they didn't stop it. So for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, they were sitting there financing this, fuck over Allende program, and then eventually, if somebody, the boss or your general just is like, I'm not allowed to go over there and get that guy over there, but he's pissing me off, and you just keep talking a bunch of shit. Eventually one of your underlings goes and does it, and then as soon as it happened, Nixon and Kissinger give a bunch of ammunition and arms and weapons to Pinochet. So Pinochet got to go on for 17 fucking years, fucking Chile over. It was a dictator assassinated by the United States, implanted arms strengthened by the United States. So really the point of who pulled the trigger doesn't even matter, because the entire fucking narrative said that the United States under Kissinger and Nixon, the CIA doesn't do anything that the White House doesn't tell it to do. That's the way it's supposed to work if there is a rogue, element out there. But the CIA does what the White House tells it to do. And the CIA was ordered under Nixon and Kissinger to kill Salvador Allende, and, he was murdered. He was killed. And that was his last speech over the radio. So they're coming in, and he's like, farewell, I address you. I'm making a sacrifice. I don't want to be humiliated. And that's what it sounds like, It doesn't, he says, he said one thing about how they didn't defend themselves, and therefore history will judge them in the face of the silence of those who had the obligation to act. So he says that terrorism had happened, but the armed forces didn't do shit about it. Well, you didn't do shit about it, fucking bitch. Fucking Salvador Allende going to kill himself. It's fucking pathetic. It's fucking weak. It's a weak way to go out. He's being invaded, and Pinochet was going to kill him. They said even if they tried to do it peacefully, they would put him in a plane, and then they would have downed the plane. So Salvador Allende was fucking dead, so he knew that. But why wouldn't he had an AK? Why not go after him? He lines his workers up, and he says, thanks for working with me, is what they say. Or maybe it was like fucking Julius Caesar, right? Maybe Brutus, maybe his own fucking special cohort did it. I don't know, I guess unless there's videotape you'll never actually know. But a lot of evidence is saying that it was suicide. But I don't think it fucking matters. I don't think it fucking matters if it was. He committed suicide when he saw a bunch of tanks and soldiers and people coming into his fucking palace, so they had nothing to do with it. They had nothing to do with his death. They intended to kill him. They wanted to kill him. They was going to kill him even if he submitted peacefully. They were going to down the plane when he was being transported. That was a fucking assassination, you know, all throughout it. So just because the point of pulling the trigger wasn't assassination, that's just fucking bullshit. It's just fucking bullshit. It'd be like if I was on the playground and I got everybody to hate some poor little schmuck, and I just kept calling that schmuck a bunch of names and shit. Then eventually somebody just goes over there and punches that schmuck in his mouth. And I say good job, to the guy who punches him, and I give him money and adulation because my best friend, and the guy's in a ditch. I didn't have to do nothing. All I did was spread all this shit. Somebody else fucking did the work for me. I supported the guy who did the fucking deed. He heard what I had to say. He did it because I was the one that was wanting it. So it's actually kind of like a power that's actually like, it's a legitimate power. It's people you didn't tell them to do it, they did it on their own because they wanted to do it. Their wishes were your wishes. And so they just did it. Wasn't because you said go do it, but because it's something you had wanted. They were willing and capable of doing it. They said, alright, that's on me. I got that fucking poor schmuck fucking hit. That's my fault. So therefore, Salvador Allende is Nixon and Kissinger's fault. They were happy about it. They were ecstatic. They fucking loved that shit. They wanted to make the economy scream. And then there's like even justification that some of their capitalist economic principles were so good they're still in place today. So, I don't know. Kissinger's a fucking war criminal, so fuck Kissinger. But I guess I'll do that on the Kissinger, or the secret bombing of Cambodia. Pol Pot's killing fields, because of his secret bombing in Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge rose to power, and then they started doing fucking genocide. Indonesia's massacre of East Timor, Pakistanis massacre Bangladesh. We give Pakistan their weapons so they can fucking genocide Bangladesh, which is on the east side of Pakistan now, I hear. East Timor, genocide was happening there. Indonesia, same deal. We're giving them fucking guns while they're fucking... And it was all under, socialism or communism. So if you had some explanation or some, excuse... Oh, I think it might be a communist. We invaded Grenada, a little tiny island next to South America under Ronald Reagan because of communism. We were afraid that this little tiny island nation... Like it's our country. It's not our country. Well, how the fuck are we just... Because the Monroe Doctrine, we're an empire, so we're just allowed to invade any fucking nation in the fucking world. I think that seems to be quite apparent, and that's why Nixon's, it matters. And as much as I would hate to admit it, it comes across as fucking reasonable. But, Argentina, dirty wars, there was rape rooms, Rhodesia, some shit happened there. So between the Cambodia, East Timor, Bangladesh, genocides and the dirty wars in Rhodesia, that's fucking millions, man. That's 10 million innocent people that did not have to die because Kissinger's a piece of shit, because of strategy, because of tactics, because of, we gotta scare them into submission, so let's just bomb the shit out of neighboring neutral Cambodia. What'd they do to anybody? Who gives a shit? Let's bomb them anyways, just to scare the Viet Cong. People had to die because, Vietnam and the United States were in a war, so Cambodians had to die. And then the people that were killed in Cambodia that led to the radicalization, the rise of the Khmer Rouge, which is something red. Rouge is red in French. So the Khmer Rouge had some fucking genocide, and they're still cleaning that shit up. They had a final solution. So the Khmer Rouge wanted to do a final solution where no Chinese, no Vietnamese blood, just pure Cambodians. And that wound up killing a lot of fucking, people that lived in Cambodia. And so Kissinger's a fucking war criminal. He's a war criminal. I'll talk more about it, but essentially, here's my, I guess, overall feelings is that 60s failed, the 2000s failed, the liberals, the hippies, we can change how America, the core of America, how they're actually run. We haven't changed shit. We've been an empire since 1898. Most Americans don't even know that we're an empire, let alone that we're able to do something about it, that we should be aware of our surroundings and how we fit in the world. So, the fact that Kissinger got away with his fucking bullshit, the fact that Baby Bush invaded Iraq and nobody fucking attacked us, that basically justifies or declares to the world that we are the only superpower of the world and nobody's going to fuck with us, essentially, as long as we can carry the banner, the mantle, that we're the good guys, we're doing something good in some nation. We can invade any fucking third world country that we want to. Nuclear bomb is the only thing that stops the United States from invading another country, which is a great fucking lesson, right, to the world. Hey, you know, terrorist, get a nuclear bomb, and you won't have any fucking problems with the United States. That's horrible. That's a bad fucking lesson. The war on terrorism has increased terrorism. It's made the world more dangerous, and it shows, you know, the proliferation of nuclear weapons is a good idea just in a self-defense. North Korea, axis of evil. We haven't done shit to them. They keep talking even more shit because they got nuclear. What the fuck are you going to do? It's mutual self-assured destruction. And so North Korea is the biggest fucking threat that our planet militarily is faced with. But, you know, the Vietnam syndrome is over. Hunter S. Thompson said that Baby Bush is worse than Nixon. And, I mean, we got drones in Pakistan, Somalia, Yemen, Libya. The whole fucking Libya war happened. It's just like, you know, this a month and Libya was over, in and out, right? And it was done pretty fucking quick, but Libya justifies Allende. Libya, the Libyan war, and where did the anti-war movement go? With Obama, the anti-war movement fucking died. He started this drone massacring program all over the world, and, you know, he's still carrying on. The American empire loves to have the fucking, you know, button, his finger on the big red button. But we're in a whole nother fucking era. We're in a whole nother fucking era. This isn't... Vietnam, back in the 60s, they kicked out 2 presidents over a war. There's been no fucking war movement. We're in the longest war ever, war on terrorism. It's like the fucking Cold War. It's like this overarching war that just never fucking ends and never stops. There's always got to be some fucking enemy, some perceived... And then terrorism is just a bad thing, right? There's the terror after the French Revolution. Terror is when you terrorize the people, and, you know, it was very bloody. But war is terrorism. So terror and war, the war actually sounds less fucking scary. War is just one syllable, whereas terror, right? It's 2 syllables, and it seems scarier to me. Where am I going? So we're in a whole nother fucking world. The hippies didn't even come close to fucking winning anything. Like, we didn't even get universal health care. What the fuck did the hippies do? We got some, you know, workers' comp. If we fall down in a factory and get our arm chopped off, we don't, you know, we get paid something. Like, what the fuck did the hippies do? It's a capitalist society. The owner class, the business, the corporation, bankers, they get to do as the fuck as they please. They're the ones that use the government as a tool for their own bidding. And while, you know, the state seems immortal, and the right wing has crazy ideas for why we shouldn't have any government. When the government is being used as a tool against us, it's doing the exact opposite of what working class, middle class people should even want. And so, Salvador Allende, I'd always thought he was murdered, but I think he killed himself. Regardless, he was being invaded very last second. This Kissinger will be the standard bearer. He would be conservative with what he fucking looks, because he'll be justified with the Cold War. We have not arrested him. He's gotten away with it. We're a bigger empire than what we were trying to be in Vietnam. So we're this huge fucking empire. LBJ quit over Vietnam. Nixon, they hated Nixon because he fucked up in '69 and extended Vietnam for another 3 years. Eventually he got out of it, but took his fucking time and, you know, blew the shit out of Cambodia. Give Pol Pot his fucking vacuum space to fill. So, what's my point? My point is this. We need to put an end to war. Mankind needs to put an end to war. War will put an end to mankind. That's it. And it's a big fucking goal. It's one that is we really should do something about. And we're not even close. We have, you know, whatever the hippies had in the 60s and 70s, we don't even, like the draft, they had public support things, they were segregated, you know, in the 50s, so they had that. And so, you know, taking segregation down probably did change every fucking thing. Everything was reconsidered, but then they ran back to the establishment. So, feel the burn, baby.